Welcome to the Everything Podcast, and in this episode, I am going to be recapping the Paternoster Gang Series 2 titled Trespassers, which was released between 2023 and 2025, but I will get onto that in a minute. Before I do, I'm recording this episode on the 27th of February 2026, and the last episode, which these episodes would have released back to back on if you're listening to this episode, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, I would imagine Matt would probably do the same thing, but just keep an eye out just in case. The Podcast X page, all both the YouTube and audio episodes get automatically uploaded onto there, so you can see them there. So if you're not sure which episodes, but yeah, and obviously nowadays with the podcast going down episodes wise, there not being an episode every day, then just keep an eye out for there, because days might shift and stuff like that. So yeah, let's start off with recapping the Paternoster Gang Trespassers, which we start off with the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 1 Rose Gallery, which every box set of Trespassers, unlike Series 1 Heritage, has a box set title, not just being called Trespassers 1. So Trespassers 1 Rose Gallery was released in October 2023 with the following synopsis. Rather. Victorian England is home to the great detective Madame Vastra, her resourceful spouse Jenny Flint, and their loyal valet Strax. Solving conundrums, fighting injustice, and capturing criminals are all in a day's work for the gang. But the most dangerous threat is one that takes up residence undetected. There are trespassers in London, and they are coming to Paternoster Row. We start off with The Ghost and the Potato Man, written by Barnaby Kay. When a criminal gang pulls off a series of impossible heists, Inspector Cotton calls upon the talents of the great detective to crack the case. Tipped off by Ellie Hickson, the Paternoster Gang uncover a link to a baffling music hall act. While Jenny and Vastra chase down leads in London's dangerous underworld, Strax finds a career on the stage is beckoning. We then have Symmetry of Death, written by Strax himself, Dan Starkey. Cases are mounting for the Paternoster Gang. Three mysteries call for immediate attention: a murder, a locked room conundrum, and some acts of random vandalism. But is there a connection? As Jenny goes undercover and Strax stakes out the suspects, Vastra finds an echo of the distant past which could be the key to the solution. We then finish off the set with Till Death Do Us Part. No, I've read that wrong. Till Death Us Do Part, written by Lisa McMullen. Jenny has decided she wants a wedding, a real wedding with Vastra before their friends and family. Other way around, family and friends. But the viewing of a dress leads to misunderstandings and confusions, becoming even more serious. The owner of the dress claims to be jilted years before by a man both familiar and unfamiliar, the Doctor. As tempers flare, aliens forces are at work, and what's more, there could be a trespasser in Paternoster Row. This set was recorded on the 28th to the 30th of November and the 5th of December 2022. So this set was released nearly a whole year before it was released, which this is the longest gap we've had so far. And stars Neve McIntosh as Madame Vastra, Catherine Stewart as Jenny Flint, Dan Starkey as Strax, as well as Paul McGann as the Eighth Doctor, and Lisa Bowerman as Ellie Hickson. And before I spoil the events of the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 1 Rose Gallery, here's the trailer.
What's that? Jenny? Still upstairs in the club, I see. Everything all right? I said everything all right.
I'm being attacked.
You're breathing attack, what?
The worlds of Doctor Who. The Paternoster Gang. Trespassers 1.
I really want a wedding. I want to stand up in front of all of our friends and say, I love you.
Good evening, Madame Vastra. Jenny.
Hello, Ellie.
Miss Valersham.
We could ask the Doctor to marry us. Please, Vastra. You've already got the veil.
I vowed I would wear this dress until the day I died, as a constant reminder of the fickle nature of love.
Did you miss me?
John. My John. You are returned to me.
I am a man of my word, dear friends, and so
It is my solemn duty to unveil to you the ghost. We're experiencing some unexpected arrivals and some rather sudden departures.
Do something, Strax!
Immobilization grenade. Take care to stay out of the blast radius, madam.
You must be Vastra and Jenny. Have we met yet? I do lose track sometimes.
1,000, 2,000. Ah!
Well done, Strax. Strax?
I think I may have been inside the blast radius.
Big finish for the love of stories.
She's heading back to Warwick Lane. This way.
Once I get going, it's difficult to change direction.
That was the trailer for the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 1 Rose Gallery, and we start off with The Ghost of the Potato Man, written by Barnaby Kay, which is the most comedic story of the set, and we get reintroduced to the Paternoster Gang as they've not had an audio adventure. I think it was about 3 years or so, maybe slightly longer, between them, the finale between Heritage 4 being released and Trespassers 1 Rogues Gallery being released. So kind of nice to hear that, and kind of a different opening to a series in comparison to the start of Heritage 1. So yeah, the Ghost of the Potato Man kind of is a bit more comedic, and kind of is a nice story, because then we have Symmetry of Death, written by the actor who plays Strax, Dan Starkey. Which kind of is as I mentioned in my Heritage recap, a lot of kind of stories, Vastra, Jenny and Strax having to be in several places at once, so they split up in various combinations. And then the story I really want to talk about, which is, let me get the title right this time, Till Death Us Do Part, written by Lisa McMullen, which is Vastra and Jenny's wedding. There will be huge spoilers for this story in particular. This is the story in which Paul McGann's 8th Doctor appears, and we start to get the sense that not everything is as it seems, which carries on through the rest of the Trespassers box sets. With some nice guest stars in there as well, but more on that later on in this episode. But To Death Us Do Part, see Jenny and Vastra getting married and them reuniting with the Doctor, this time the 8th Doctor, that they haven't met, and get kind of a lot of timey-wimey stuff which comes back up again in a later Trespasser set. So I try not to, yes, there will be spoilers, but I try not to kind of spoil more than the set I'm currently talking about. So I'll get back to that later on in the episode. But yeah, kind of, and not everything is as it seems, and either Vastra and Jenny that gets married isn't the real Vastra or Jenny. I can't remember which way round it is. And then that continues throughout the set. So unlike Heritage, where it was kind of slow, big, and then builds in the second half, it kind of is built from the finale of the first set. So now let's move on to the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 2. Which was the first of two Paternoster Gang sets released in 2024. This set released in April 2024 with the title of The Casebook of Paternoster Row. We've got another Doctor featuring in this set. I'll get onto that in a minute. And here is the synopsis. Vastra believes trespassers are close at hand and seeks out clues in some of the gang's previous cases. We start off with Anne of 1,000 Light Years, written by James Kettle. The course of true love never does run smooth, especially when it involves a highborn young lady, a humble farmhand, and an extraterrestrial chameleons on the lookout for breeding stock. Will Lady Anne Warminster marry the man of her dreams rather? Will the amorphous Glossopants secure their chosen small bride? Will Jenny ever finish reading a novel by Anthony Trollope? In the heart of the English countryside, the gang tackle an assignment involving romance, skullduggery and horse manure. We then have Paternoster, written by Gary Russell. Something is hiding in the sewers of London, picking out the poor and lost souls who live down there. Madame Vastra opens a case file that tracks her back to her early days, and a life task that must be finally fulfilled. A case where she and her friends face death from an enemy capable of shredding matter into echoing screams. And we finish off the set with The Gentleman Thieves, written by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle. Vastra reviews the case of a one-man crime wave. Break-ins and burglaries committed by the same handsome and daring thief, even when they were committed at exactly the same time. Unraveling the secrets of these doppelganger never-do-wells. The gang touch on the fringe of a bigger conspiracy, but as Vastra recalls the past, the dangers of the present are closing in. This set was recorded between the 25th and 27th of September 2023, so nearly a whole year since Trespassers 1 was recorded. There must be some scheduling thing. Maybe they wanted Trespassers 1 to go out a bit earlier and kind of couldn't or something. And this episode, stars Neve McIntosh as Madame Vastra, Dan Starkey as Strax, Catherine Stewart as Jenny Flint, and Tom Baker as the Fourth Doctor. So before I spoil the events of the Paternoster Gang, Trespassers 2, The Casebook of Paternoster Row, here's the trailer.
And what's this?
Micromatter transmitter, gateway to a pocket dimension. Where's he gone?
From Big Finish Productions, the worlds of Doctor Who, the Paternoster Gang, Trespassers, the Casebook of Paternoster Row.
Goodness, that was cramped. Now, where was I?
It's you.
Well, of course it's me. Who else could I possibly be?
There's been a crime wave in the big houses for weeks.
Madam Vastra, my name is Algernon Rackham.
He's that cricketer. Goes all over playing with the gentlemen amateurs. Only it says here, he was robbing rich folks blind the whole time.
How can a man be free at one place and restrained in another?
Body morphers and doppelgangers.
Oh, the level of clutter in this pantry is unacceptable. According to Sontaran code, you should both be executed. I am Paternoster.
So, Mom, what did you make of his story?
Monsters in tunnels? Eating us poor and lost? It seems odd.
Creature! Creature! Come out and face me!
You asked me to attend a mystery, Paternoster. I am doing just that.
By the way, don't say anything you shouldn't.
Anything I shouldn't. Doctor...
Shh. That's exactly the sort of thing I mean. I'm traveling incognito.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
That was the trailer for the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 2, The Casebook of Paternoster Row. Let's start off with Anne of 1,000 Light Years, written by James Kettle. This is kind of the story where a lot of things are going on at once. I can't remember much about this story in particular, even though in the Heritage recap I did say I knew more about this set, but I probably remember more about especially the final box set, Trespassers 4, and parts of 3 as well. So that's because when was this released? April 2024, so nearly 2 years as of time of recording, obviously over 2 years when you're listening and watching this episode. So then we have Paternoster, written by Gary Russell, which is the episode in which Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor appears. Obviously in Trespassers 1, Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor appearing in the final episode of the set. Obviously in this one it'd be the middle story, and kind of you heard a bit of it in the trailer, the Fourth Doctor not wanting to be recognised because he kind of is pretending he's going undercover in that set episode. So I remember it is nice to see the Paternoster Gang meeting a previous incarnation of the Doctor they've not met before, similar to Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor in Trespassers 1, and it's a nice appearance, and it is very time-wimey because the obviously before I showed the trailer, this set was recorded in September 2023, so not long before Rogues Gallery Trespassers 1 was released, but kind of that is a really short gap for the Fourth Doctor Adventures, because they're recorded, so the 2026 series was recorded in 2020, so a 6-year gap, as I've talked about in previous episodes, so it is very interesting. And then we finish off the set with The Gentleman Thieves, written by Lauren Mooney and Stuart Pringle, which kind of is more in line with the first story of the set, Out of 1,000 Light Years, written by James Kettle, with the kind of them trying to sort out things but kind of that's this episode kind of focusing more on the overarching arc with the doppelgangers and all of that stuff. So yeah, kind of keeps following the story arc. So let's move on to the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 3 No Place Like Home, which was released in December 2024, with the following synopsis. The secret of the shape-shifting trespassers will now be revealed. We start off with Doppelgangers, written by Ken Bentley, who I believe directs most of the Paternoster Gang sets, if not all of them. With the following synopsis: after being imprisoned by a shape-shifting foe, Jenny has escaped through London sewers and returned to Paternoster Row. Meanwhile, her captor, now disguised as Doppel Jenny, infiltrates Paternoster Row with murderous intent. We then have Jellyfish, written by Neve McIntosh and Dan Starkey, who obviously play Madame Vastra and Strax respectively. The gang hangs to the coast for Madame Vastra to convalesce, but their holiday proves far from restful. This Cornish village is home to suspicious locals, strange storms and wreckers, but strangest of all, something lurks in the sea, something with a mysterious hold over Vastra. We then finish the set with The House Guest, written by Matt Fitton. Vastra, Jenny and Strax return to London to find Paternoster Row changed. Houses lie empty. A crime wave grips the neighbourhood. A new criminal mastermind rules the underworld. What's more, number 13 has an unexpected house guest, and he claims to be the Doctor. This set was recorded on the 20th to 22nd of May, 2024, and stars Neve McIntosh as Madame Vastra, Dan Starkey as Strax, Captain Stewart as Jenny Flint, Michael Troughton as the Second Doctor, and Nicholas Briggs as Brotack. So before I do spoil the events of the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 3, No Place Like Home, here's the trailer.
Paternoster Row has become a place of threat and violence. From Big Finish Productions, the worlds of Doctor Who, the Paternoster Gang, Trespassers, No Place Like Home.
I recognise the odour, ma'am. The creature is attempting to disguise itself as human.
I am human!
Oh, I despise metamorphs.
Oh, more jellyfish. Oh, the sea air will be good for me. Hello there.
How many ships have been wrecked here?
Every winter there's at least one. The storms are notorious.
Many more jellyfish. Sounds like we're under attack. Are we under attack?
So, I gather you are the great detective, hmm?
Excuse me? Who are you?
And what are you doing in our house?
What happened to the street?
A veritable crime wave.
It is unusually quiet. What the blazes are you? Get away!
This is my new and improved anti-shapeshifter reverse shapeshifting device.
Catchy name.
Prime the device by activating the trigger there.
Like this.
Big Finish. For the love of stories.
No rest for the wicked, eh?
That was the trailer for the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 3 No Place Like Home, and we start off with Doppelgangers, written by Ken Bentley, and as the synopsis sets, it kind of focuses on Jenny kind of returning to Paternoster Row after being held captive, and kind of Strax and Vastra believing that the Jenny that was with them was the real Jenny, where in actual fact that was the doppelganger, and the real Jenny was being held captive. And then we have Jellyfish, written by Neve McIntosh and Dan Starkey, who obviously play Vastra and Strax, and kind of is the idea of what would happen if the Paternoster Gang went on a holiday. Of course, it's the same as what would happen if the Doctor and their companion went on holiday. They can't rest. They wouldn't have a normal holiday like the rest of us. They'd be having to deal with something just in a very different location. And then we have The House Guest, written by Matt Fitton, which is the story in which Michael Troughton's Second Doctor appears. And very interestingly, I think this was the first episode, because it was announced quite a bit ahead of time, I remember. And I was like, oh, Michael Troughton's Second Doctor appears in this. We've not had, I think this was the first appearance of Michael Troughton's Second Doctor in another Big Finish range. Obviously, has his Second Doctor Adventures, which is his range as the Second Doctor, but kind of not appearing in various other ranges, the classic Doctors and the new Doctors, as in the recast classic Doctors. So Stephen Noonan as the first, Michael Charlton as the second, as Tim Trelaw as they don't tend to appear in many other ranges. If they're going to get a Doctor to appear in another range, it does tend to be the fourth to the eighth Doctors. It doesn't tend to be the new series Doctors, because the Big Finish don't tend to have as many of them on call, but they kind of do now. They have kind of 9 to 13 and the Fugitive and War Doctors in some form, and then obviously they have all the classic Doctors in some form as well. So kind of what I said when I was talking about Paternoster from the previous set, that kind of this, it's nice to see the Paternoster gang have a different dynamic with each Doctor and how that would be, because obviously on screen we saw them primarily with 11 and then in an episode with 12. So that we haven't seen any other interactions with any of the Doctors, whereas we've had more than that. It was obviously they've met the 8th Doctor in Trespassers 1, obviously the 4th Doctor in Trespassers 2, and now the 2nd Doctor in Trespassers 3. And yeah, kind of a very different, because they don't believe that this is the Doctor, because they've met kind of so many incarnations of the Doctor now. Well, a few of them, and they were like, oh, you're not the Doctor, because they're very confused, because they're used to seeing Matt Smith up at Capaldi, and they're a bit confused. So yeah, it is interesting seeing that, and then kind of what happens, especially with this being episode 9 of the 12 episode series, that kind of it is towards the end, and the Paternoster gang have just got Jenny back, and kind of they're very on edge, and they don't trust the 2nd Doctor for most of the story, but they do eventually. And we finish off the Paternoster gang Trespassers with Trespassers 4, A Last Stand, which was released in March 2025. Here's the synopsis. Shape-shifting and... Oh no, I've read that bit previously. Hunting down their foe amid London society, Vastra is driven to distraction, the gang ousted from their home before a final confrontation. We start off with A Married Zygon, written by Alan Ronald. The gang visit an old friend in a haunted mansion. Miss Faversham, who appeared in... Was it Trespassers 1 or 2? It was definitely in one of the earlier sets. Is suffering a mysterious Lady, and her engagement to the curious Lord Byra convinces Vastra she can scent the enemy. As Jenny helps supernatural investigator Harriet Cross catch ghosts, they discover something far more dangerous loose inside the walls of Barrier Hall. We then have A Passion for Fashion, written by Helen Goldwyn. Society ladies are losing their fortunes and growing mortally sick, apparently infected by insatiable desire for the designs of enigmatic hat maker Monsieur de Klerk. With the help of a shop girl, the gang uncover rivalry in the fashion world and a dark trade in cruel importation. They also find that Monsieur de Klerk is much more than a flamboyant fashionista. And then we finish off with the finale, not only to Trespassers 4, but the entirety of the Trespassers series, with the final problem, written by Laura Mooney and Stuart Pringle. The villainous Trespassers finally succeeds in banishing the Paternosters from their home, using the most powerful weapon in his arsenal, the bailiffs. Stuck in a seedy boarding house, the gang soon realise something else is afoot. Things are going missing. Something is munching its way through London, and it may be the answer to all their problems. This set was recorded on the 25th. It was, but the 23rd to the 25th of October 2024. It's a kind of normal, gap. And it stars Neve McIntosh as Madame Vastra, Dan Starkey as Strax, Catherine Stewart as Jenny, Paul McGann as the 8th Doctor, and Nicholas Briggs as Brotak, with Beth Chalmers as Miss Faversham. I spoil the event of the Paternoster gang Trespassers 4 Last Stand. Here's the trailer.
Has the Sontaran Empire declared war on Earth? If so, I'm poised to obliterate this puny planet without a moment's hesitation.
From Big Finish Productions, the worlds of Doctor Who, the Paternoster gang, Trespassers, Last Stand.
Ghost Hunter, Harriet Cross.
We shall pay a visit to Briarhole. See if we can't stay for the weekend.
Tortured screams, weird footsteps, and maybe a ghost.
Stupid boy. Ghosts indeed. Humans are so easily frightened.
I want to see Miss Faversham.
Doctor! I'll rip his eyes out!
Do you have a message for us? There we are.
Hendrix.
You must stop.
Stop what?
This influx of death. A hat can't kill someone.
We don't know that.
We have an enemy in our midst.
We're the bailiffs.
Strax forget to pay the gas bill again.
We've come for your house.
We are the Paternosters of Paternoster Row.
They can't do this.
Temporarily displaced, yes, but still. I'm afraid, lad, that we may have a problem.
A problem?
Poblums are a race of trionic energy beings of ferocious pan-dimensional appetites. They travel invisibly between worlds and consume everything they find there.
I'm here. Come out and face me, Brotak.
Does my form unsettle you?
All along this was you. A trespasser in our home.
Brace yourselves for complete metabolic disintegration.
Oblivion! Oblivion!
Big Finish. For the love of stories.
Oh, it's Strax with the chips.
That was the trailer for the Paternoster Gang Trespassers 4 Last Stand, and this set isn't a full finale set because there's kind of bits that are in kind of each story slightly separate. So I'm married as I'm going to get through the first two stories quite quickly so I can focus on the finale. So I'm Married as Zygon, written by Alan Ronald, is the aftermath of Vastra and Jenny being separated and all of that stuff. And then we have A Passion for Fashion, written by Helen Godwin, a well-known director at Big Finish. Yeah, I can't remember much about this one. I think it kind of has a different focus. But then we move on to the finale of Trespassers, The Final Problem, written by Laura Mooney and Stuart Pringer, which I just think, before I even start, has the best title in the world. Because it kind of, well, even in the behind the scenes, it kind of has, there's the writers, Laura Mooney and Stuart Pringer, connect it to Sherlock Holmes. That's how they portrayed the finale. Obviously, they wrote a previous episode. I think it was one of the finales of one of the other sets in Trespassers. So they are used to write. They know the Paternoster Gang. Yeah, obviously, as the synopsis the episode starts with the Paternoster Gang being evicted basically and having to live elsewhere and kind of mop floors and clean to earn money. And then we have blah blah blah. Then we have the who do we have next? Then we have Brotak, and obviously this episode is very much Vastra versus Brotak, and Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor returns to this episode to help the Paternoster Gang, and actually the episode ends on a cliffhanger with him saving Strax and Jenny, but Vastra kind of being lost, and kind of that sets up a series 3, fingers crossed, because it's not been announced as of time of recording. When you'll see this episode, who knows, but as of time of recording, no. But yeah, really good finale, really good series. I would, if you're going to listen to The Final Problem, you need to listen to a few of the other episodes. So it isn't like I can just dip into the finale and it will all make sense. It will most of make sense, to be honest. You just need to know that Brotak is a Zygon who is shapeshifted into many forms, including Jenny, basically. And then you can go and listen to The Final Problem, and hopefully a Paternoster Gang Series 3 is coming. But as of time of recording, as I mentioned, that hasn't been announced, but I'm sure it will be. But it might be a couple of years, as similar between Heritage and Trespassers, but who knows. But before I go, speaking of Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor, because especially with the gaps between me recording an episode and it being released, it doesn't make sense to me to do announcements on the moment, so I'm now linking them into episodes where they make sense. So, as Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor appeared in 2 of the sets, obviously, with the 2 bookends in Rose Gallery, Trespassers 1 and Last Stand, Trespassers 4, I'm going to talk about a future 8th Doctor release, which actually by the time you're listening to the episode may have already released, as it releases in May 2026, I believe. And the range, obviously, I mentioned that it's a Paul McGann set. So the announcement was, I'll get to that in a minute. I've clicked on the wrong thing. Here we are. It is it's a press release titled "The Eighth Doctor and Susan Reunited," and it was announced on the 20th of February, 2026. So it kind of is kind of fell within that week that I didn't record episodes. And has the title. It reads, Carol Ann Ford joins Paul McGann, Sonny McGann and Emma Campbell-Jones in Doctor Who Time War Uncharted Branches, a full cast audio drama box set due May 2026. Then we have the cover for Branches, which is amazing. And here it goes. The Time War era adventures of the Eighth Doctor, played by Paul McGann, continue in the upcoming audio drama box set Time War Uncharted Branches. Travelling with his great-grandson Alex, played by Sonny McGann, the Doctor is exploring a mysterious new universe on the trail of their lost friend Cass, played by Emma Campbell-Jones. This search leads to a series of surprising encounters for the TARDIS crew. There's Cassie, this universe's swashbuckling version of Cass. There are the Daleks, played by Nicholas Briggs, but not as the Doctor's ever seen them before. And then there's Susan. Carol Ann Ford reprises her role of the Doctor's granddaughter who has a message for her granddaughter, but this is not her universe and this is not her Alex. How will this most unusual family reunion pan out? Here is the synopsis for the set. Searching for the missing cast, the Doctor and great-grandson Alex attempt to cross from one end of an unfamiliar universe to the other. Along the way, they meet this reality's version of their friend, the buccaneering Cassie, who has a destiny of her own. Charting the uncharted, they will discover what became of the Daleks in this universe and that someone else has come looking for them. Susan. The Eighth Doctor's 4 new trips into the unknown are The Only Girl in the World, written by John Dorney, False Dawn, written by Alison Winter, Council of Susan, written by Tim Foley, and All Over, written by Patrick O'Connor. All well-known Big Finish writers, and it says that further cast and story details were revealed at a later date. And we've got some quotes here. Producer and script editor Matt Fitton said the Doctor and Alex unite in a quest to find their friend at the far end of an unknown yet oddly familiar universe. Along the way, they meet the uncharted version of Cass, the buccaneering Cassie, who has a quest of her own. This TARDIS crew will also encounter old enemies as the Daleks appear for the first time in Uncharted, although they're not quite what the Doctor is expecting. There is another surprise too, with a family reunion as Carol Ann Ford returns alongside Paul and Sonny McGann for the first time since 2011. It was wonderful to see these generations of the Doctor's family together, and to hear their interactions is going to be emotional. Yeah, that's it. So that's it for this episode. Let me know what you thought of the Paternoster Gang Trespassers if you listened to it. My recap, if you didn't, as well, if you're planning to listen or have listened to the Eighth Doctor Adventures, Time War Uncharted Branches, depending upon when it's released. But without further ado, I will see you in a future episode of the podcast. See you then. Goodbye.